Good evening and welcome to the work session of the Marlington Local School District Board of Education for Thursday, June 25th, 2026. Would you call the roll, please?
Josh Hagan. Here. Karen Humphreys.
Here.
Kathy Krupko.
Here.
Mark Ryan.
Here.
Jonathan Swift.
Here.
Okay. New business.
Okay, so in this work session here tonight, as I talked about last month, was I wanted to have Mr. Evanich come in and give us a little bit of a special education update. That kind of, as we've gone through our forecast is now has changed, so we'll be doing our forecast in August with Ryan Gazzoni. What you notice in our forecast is he keeps talking about tuition out students, things like that, which is really a lot of driving force that is special education. So I'm going to go ahead and have Mr. Evanich come on up and just kind of give a brief update on our special education programs and numbers, and then if you guys have any questions for him, please feel free to ask away.
Do I have to stand up here?
Yeah, and do you want to move over those some, or yeah, Ralph? There you go.
away.
Push it. Love it.
There you go.
It'll,
Right
I
there.
won't have
That's
neck pain. That's
Is that
perfect.
better? I can sit right here too?
no
Perfect.
sitting.
All right. So I'm going to throw some numbers at you, and then I'll try to break it down to make it make a little bit more sense. But we'll start whole picture first. So our most recent May enrollment, we had 1,755 students. Of those students, 227 are on an IEP at this time, which is about 13%. Outside of those students, we have 11 students currently taking the John Peterson or Autism Scholarship. So those students would not be in those counts I just gave you. They might be going to Lake Center Christian, they might be going to Golden Key. Some use online services through homeschooling, and they can still use the scholarship. So we have 11 students who use the scholarship. The scholarship dollars, we do not pay those directly. Those come out through the foundation money behind the scenes, if you will. So we don't get bills or whatnot, but we do have to maintain their IEPs and their ETRs on a 3-year basis or a yearly basis, and then submit that in the scholarship portal. We do have 3 homeschooled students who are on IEPs. So when a student is homeschooled, we still have to offer an IEP every year. That's brand new. We used to have to just offer the ETR to see if they continue to qualify for an IEP. And then what the family does with that is up to them. Some parents will say, no, I don't want the IEP. I'm homeschooling them. I don't have any reason to have that, and they'll decline it, which is fine. But they usually take the ETR. But we have 3 that are currently using the IEP, if you will, at home. Additionally, we have 33, these are all 25, 26 numbers. So this is all last year. There's no reason to try and figure out next year. It'll change tomorrow. The preschool program has 33 students in it that were on an IEP that were either used here or doing their work here at Lexington Elementary or itinerant services. If we don't have a classroom spot for them or the family just can't get them there, then we have to offer itinerant services where they meet weekly or whatever the IEP calls for with the intervention specialist. We also had 5 students at Eastgate Preschool, which is over there by St. Thomas Aquinas, part of the Stark County Board of Developmental Disabilities. Now with the Eastgate program, those students typically have multi-handicaps, maybe medically fragile, some different things to where a traditional preschool room is not the best fit for them. Now, we do not have to pay tuition for those students. We do have to pay for any speech, OT, or PT they have, but we do not have to pay tuition for that.
Who's responsible for their IEPs?
We are.
We are still.
Well, I take that back. We typically do the evaluations because typically you have to have them evaluated before you get into Eastgate. And then by the time they're ready to come out of Eastgate, they're probably going to school age, so then we do the evaluation again. But in the meantime, they typically do the IEPs at Eastgate.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so bringing us back to our students that are in our 5 buildings. There were 214 students K-12 actually in the buildings on an IEP. I told you about the 33 in preschool and the 5 at Eastgate. Stark County Learning Center, so that's over in North Canton. It's an elementary school that used to be a North Canton Elementary School that the Stark County ESC has taken over. And they have programs there that serve any of the schools inside of the ESC membership. Those students' programs, they kind of have two programs. They have a behavior side of the building, so students who have behaviors that just are very difficult to manage in a public school setting unless you have enough students of the same age to have that specialized setting, which we typically do not. And then they have an autism unit, so students who are dealing with autism and their challenges, and those are usually your most difficult challenges for those kids. Not all students with autism are there at all, but the ones who struggle the most are there in that program. And the nice thing about, just to give you a kind of an idea, their student to staff ratio is way different. You're talking maybe 130 kids and probably, I'm just ballparking, but 50, 60 staff members. Because as the students struggle and staff members are working with them, sometimes either the staff members at their end or the students at their end with that staff, and they swap out and they trade staff and do lots of things. So very intensive services. We do have two students this past year at Educational Alternatives, which is in Ravenna, which we've used at times when the Stark County Learning Center doesn't have room for a student. As it sits right now, we will not have any students at the Educational Alternatives School next year because we've been able to get everyone into Stark County Learning Center. That's usually our first choice. It's connected to us more so than Educational Alternatives is, and it's closer, and we've had great success with it. SCLC, Stark County Learning Center, goes through 8th grade, but as the students start to progress and work their way back to be able to return to their home district, if they're in the middle school age, the ESC has a unit at Louisville Middle School. And so we have one student there. That allows the student to be in a specialized unit for maybe whatever it takes, 50% of the day, maybe it starts at 75% of the day, and they go out for classes 25%, and they keep decreasing that time in the unit until they're ready to transition back. In the last couple of years, we've brought 3 or 4 students back from the units with that program, and it works very well. And then if they get to the high school age and we haven't been able to transition them back, the ESC has a unit at RG Drag. It's in the RG Drag building. It's not necessarily a part of RG Drag. It can be as the students get into the 11th or 12th grade, if they're having success and are able to do one of those programs, but maybe come back to the unit for their academics, they do that. So it gives them a combination of career tech and specialized support. So just to review those numbers, SCLC last year we had 8, EA we had 2, Louisville we had 1, and RG Drag we had 2.
Nick, what's the cost for?
Questions are at the end.
He let me ask.
Yes, sir. That was clarifying.
Well,
What's the cost per kid? Average.
So our SCLC programs are running $34,920 a year. The autism program, because it's much more intense, is $51,840. Now, included in both of those numbers is speech, but if a student requires physical therapy or occupational therapy, then we pay those costs as well. Educational alternatives, the behavior side was $49,140, and the autism side was $65,340. Now, those numbers are a little higher than SCLC because those include transportation. With the number of students, we just could not get kids to Ravenna and to North Canton in a timely fashion and hit the time. So EA does offer transportation, but we'll be eliminating that next year since we got everybody into SCLC or something. Another school, and we don't have a student, we had a student there for part of this year, is Shipley. It's part of child and adolescence. It's for students who struggle a great deal with mental health, And so we had one student there, and that's 27,900. And I'll just throw this in there now while we're at it. We also have a student who we are the district of residence for. So this student is court placed, maybe with a grandparent, maybe with another family member, maybe with a foster family, not in our district. But the parent resides in our district. So where they reside, that school's in charge of educating them. And if they determine, and they work with us on it, if they can't educate them in their building, then they might place them somewhere like a Shipley or a Stark County Learning Center. But we are on the hook for the cost of the student as long as that parent resides in our district. And so that's something we work with our SROs with. We want to take care of kids, but we want to protect the district and the finances. And so we look to try to find those parents every year to make sure they're still living in our district, because their kids aren't with them, so it's a little tricky. And this past year, we were able to find one that had moved out, and then there's a process we have to go through of getting contact with them, getting signatures from them, and we submit it to the state. And then they transfer that cost of that education to where that parent's living now. Yes?
Do we have any say, so if they're in a foster home and they need more specialized services, do we have any input into what facility then is selected?
So they have to invite us to the IEP and the ETR meetings,
Okay.
and we have to be a part of that. And so we do get a voice in that.
Okay.
Sometimes it comes down to location too. We have a couple students way down in Southeast Ohio. That's where they're living, and we're working to try to figure out where mom's at and things like that. So those are the challenges, yeah.
But we cover transportation costs also.
So typically, on a student who's court placed out, typically what they'll do is they will use correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, the excess cost calculations, and they'll do the bill back behind the scenes where it comes out of our foundation money. It's not always a direct bill to us. When it's local and they're using something that we deal with, like Stark County Learning Center or Shipley, then sometimes we'll get direct billed for that. If not, it's billed behind the scenes. Am I explaining that correctly, Bob?
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. The state has a program that kind of calculates the cost of the resident, of the educating district, so that there's some equity in how much the serving district pays. So I tend to prefer it goes through that state program versus the direct billing,
Yes.
just because I kind of trust their calculation.
Yes.
But when you're talking about them needing to or the goal is to transition them back to their home school, like if they're at the SCLC.
Yep.
Do we pay, as they're transitioning, do we pay for the transportation to bring them from whatever building they are back to us?
We
for
would,
those classes?
yeah, we
Okay.
would at some level, yeah. So like,
Okay.
just like when we calculate our students, we figure out how many students are on a bus, what's the cost of running that bus, the cost of the aid on that bus, and so forth, and it gets divided up by how many students are on that bus and so forth.
Got it.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
yep. So just in total last year, and this number will fluctuate, I had a couple students at SCLC that were there for a short period and then moved out of the district, so then those fell off. We picked up a foster student in March, April, who came from Southeast Ohio and was in a specialized school there. So then we had to add that student to our group at SCLC. But speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy for these different students that we talked about runs somewhere between $6,000 to $10,000 total. But our tuition bill was approximately $578,340. That dollar amount is the dollar amount we paid directly. So that's not a student who was through the program that Bob talked about. Let me go back, just there's some students here I did not get to talk about, but enrollment notes, just for notes, we have 34 students open enrolled into our district that are on IEPs. And we have 4 students that are court placed into our district that are on IEPs, just to kind of give you some numbers on that. And I'm going to give you some numbers on the students that are out as well here shortly. Our court placed in is not that great. We don't have a lot of providers in our district or group homes, so we don't get as many court-placed in as we do court-placed out at times. So for instance, I was talking about finding those parents who live in our district or might have moved out and trying to make sure that we're not paying when we shouldn't be. Last year, another district found a student whose parent moved into our district. They did their homework. The state sent us a letter that said, now you are responsible for the education of this child. And that child, their school is very specialized. They have tremendous needs. So that's about $65,000 a year for that student that we picked up middle of the year. So that happens, and that's why we work really hard to make sure that we're paying for the students we should pay for and not paying for the ones that we should not. Just to give you some numbers for next year, the Stark County Learning Center, right now we're scheduled to have 9 students there. The Louisville Middle School Unit 1 and RG Drag 3. Those numbers can change. We've got 2 students at SCLC that we're working on transition back to our schools. They've been doing well, and we're trying to work through that to get them back successfully. I have a student in this mix that might be going to online school or something, so that could change week to week. Out of district is our last resort. We continue to prioritize educating students in the least restrictive environment. That's our number one job for a student on IEP. If they can be in a regular classroom, that's our first goal. If they need to be out of that regular classroom for a short period of time, maybe it's for math only, then we do that. Maybe it's for math and ELA, but they're in the regular classroom for everything else. Maybe they need to be in a specialized unit at times, and so that happens as well. But our goal is always to get them in the general education classroom with support. So bring it back to our students here. So at Marlington, we have some specialized units, and that's our next step. If we can't have them in the classroom, if they can't be successful there and their needs are too great, we have our units. So at Lexington, we have our multi-handicap unit. Right now, we're looking at having 8 students in that classroom next year. We did have to add the kindergarten, first grade cross-categorical unit. So these students, there will be 7 of them right now on the books. They're in kindergarten or first grade. And they're higher functioning and have more ability than our students right now in the MH unit, but they're not ready to go to the classroom of 20, 22, 23 with one teacher or one teacher and an aide. And so we had to open that unit this year, and I'll explain that a little bit here. Our second grade through 5th grade cross-categorical unit at Lexington will have 10. So we have 8, 7, and 10 in our 3 units at Lexington this year. Those numbers are high, but high in terms of what we've typically been. But the good part is we have them here at Marlington, because that's the goal, and that's what the families want to, whenever possible. Our middle school unit has 3 students, and our high school unit has 5 students for next year. So a little bit maybe about how we got there to these numbers being higher. I'll start with this past year. At the Stark County Learning Center, we had to have their services for 4 kindergarten students, which is a tremendously high number. Just to give you a breakdown, we had 4 kindergarten students there, 1 first grader, 1 third grader, and 2 fourth graders. 4 is a high number, but I get reports from them on a regular basis, and the more reports I get, it's not necessarily good. They usually report the bad stuff, and unfortunately, our kindergartners, they need to be there. They're struggling in that setting, and if they're struggling in that setting, it would really be a struggle in our own setting because we don't have the specialization that they have. So looking at next year, we had a huge preschool class in both regards. We had a lot of preschoolers who are going to kindergarten next year. Good news is that we had a lot of openings for new kids coming into preschool. But we had 25 preschool students who will go in kindergarten this year with an IEP already. The previous year, there were 11. So that's a huge difference. Of the 11 students, or 11 of the students, just happens to be 11 twice, but of the 25, 11 students that are coming to us in kindergarten are going to be in our cross-categorical unit or our multi-handicap unit. We had 4 preschoolers at Eastgate who are coming back to us because they're in kindergarten, so that's good. But they'll go into a unit, and then we had 7 that will go into the cross-categorical unit or the MH unit. And that number was high, so I reached out to the Stark County ESC and their multi-handicap supervisor. She supervises all their multi-handicap units across the county. They have some at Stark County Learning Center. They have some in other schools as well. At one time, we had a unit at the high school for students with emotional disturbance. And so we may have had 2 or 3 kids, and then kids from other schools would come there as well. And so this person oversees all those units where they're at throughout the county. I had her review each ETR, and she went and visited classrooms at Eastgate and our school just to make sure that we were on the same page. I had a fresh set of eyes, and she said that we were correct. All 11 of those kids were not ready for the traditional kindergarten classroom. Our goal with the cross-categorical unit is, and the reason we have it now, is to get those kids into kindergarten with support on a daily basis. Maybe it'll be 10 minutes the first week. Maybe we'll get to 20 minutes. Maybe we'll get to 2 30-minute sessions. And as quickly as possible, with success, get those kiddos back into the kindergarten classroom where we want them to be. So that new unit did cost us an additional teacher and 2 additional classroom aides so that they can service those students and provide the supports they need. Just something else I'll throw at you that's exploding, if you will, I think across the state. 504s. 504s are accommodation plans. So if a student has a medical diagnosis, typically, you do an evaluation of that medical diagnosis and of if it's affecting their ability to learn in school. Have to have both. Can't just be a medical diagnosis and they're straight A student and have no problems, then they would not qualify for a 504. But these plans are exploding. It seems like every provider out there is willing to write a diagnosis and recommend a 504. And so 504 plans currently, Lexington has 20, Marlboro has 15, Washington has 18. The middle school has 48 students with a 504, and the high school has 70 students with a 504. So there's 171 students on a 504 in addition to the IEPs. You don't have both. It's usually one or the other. You make it work. So those students get things like breaks, small group testing, extended time, and some are very different. You may have a student with diabetes that would be on a 504 so that they can have the right to leave the classroom at any time to check their sugar or check with the nurse or whatever it might be. Unfortunately, a lot of the things that go into the 504 plans for some of our students you would consider to be common sense. But unfortunately, that doesn't always exist everywhere in the world, so that's probably why we have these legal plans that make it a legal document. We have to follow it because somebody probably didn't follow it for a kid somewhere in the world, and so now it's here. But that just puts a little more on our staff. That's where we use a lot of our aides and try to use them to provide help to those students and get them what they need. So I guess we'll stop there with questions because I've talked a lot.
Is the 504 new? That's new this year?
No, 504 has been around for a long time, as long as I've known. They're just growing at a rapid rate.
And who determines if they're eligible? Does the parent apply and then it's approved by?
So it can be a variety of people. A parent could come in and ask if their student could have a 504 for help. So there's an evaluation process we have to go through then to see if what they say the student has or what the student's been diagnosed with, if that's affecting their education or not. If it's not, then we do not have to provide the 504. But if there's proof that the student is struggling to pay attention in class and they're not focused, they're constantly distracted, and they have an ADHD diagnosis, that would go hand in hand that they need some accommodations.
So that means we have to provide resources to assist that student, so it's a cost,
Yes,
and that's coming out of
our funds, yeah.
Is it coming from the state? Is the state
No.
subsidized?
No, the state does, there's no money tied to a 504, if you will, no additional funding or anything tied to a 504. Students on IEPs, there are additional funding dollars from the federal and state government. And so that usually looks to us in the, like having extra aids to take the students to a small group to be tested in, or to take them for whatever they might need. And it looks different at every age level. As they get older, it's a little bit less. Yes.
So is each teacher responsible, have some responsibility towards the IEP? I mean, are they supposed to have read it, understand it, and execute the IEP parameters for each student in their class? If they're, say, a student is on an English IEP and a math IEP, if the parameters of that IEP aren't being followed by the teacher, then what happens?
So every student on IEP is assigned to an intervention specialist, and that intervention specialist is to be the expert on that IEP. They would do the progress monitoring of the goals that are on there and help provide the accommodations. But every teacher has access to the IEP, and the intervention specialists work with that teacher to make sure that they have it, make sure that they're making any accommodations or modifications that are required by the IEP. In the grade book, every teacher has a grade book on their computer. It will have a little paper clip that identifies that the student has an IEP or 504. If they click on that, they can access it at any time right there. And so we keep that going. But the teachers, I would say, are not the experts of it. That's why we have the intervention specialists. And then the intervention specialists have intervention time with those students and work specifically on those goals in addition to supporting the classroom.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
I have several.
Yeah.
She's Kathy, I did too.
Go on. Oh, go ahead. 504 versus IEP.
Yeah.
Would there be a reason to decide one versus the other?
Yes. An IEP, a student has to qualify as having a learning disability. So as our school psychologists go through the ETR, the evaluation, multi-factored evaluation, sometimes that's used as a phrase, of testing to determine does the student have a learning disability. If they have a learning disability, they qualify for an IEP.
Okay.
A student on a 504 would not have a learning disability, but may have some other type of diagnosis that affects their education.
So is there a difference in the time frame for each one? Like is a 504 an annual one and the IEP every 2 to 3 years reevaluated?
Yep, so evaluations are every 3 years. That's required by law to do an evaluation every 3 years by both of those, 504 and ETRs. An IEP or a 504 plan are annual. So every year, those are updated every year with a meeting with the family in the IEP team or the 504 team. Meaning the student's intervention specialist, a student's teacher, a principal, or a district representative. Yep.
Okay. So is every child who's ADD or ADHD automatically, or not automatically, but if a parent would request, eligible for a 504 but not an IEP?
They're eligible for a 504 if their diagnosis, ADHD or whatever the case might be, affects their education. If we see the effects of that diagnosis in the classroom and in their work, then they become eligible. It would be up to our evaluation team to determine if that is affecting or not affecting.
But somebody would have to request an evaluation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The teacher does that, the parents do that?
Teacher can, a parent can. Unfortunately, right now, most doctors' offices, pediatricians, nurse practitioners, physicians' assistants, hand the parent a report that says, go see your school and get a 504. And they list everything they think the kid needs. And they don't have any, I mean, I'm sure they can diagnose the student properly and everything, but then they tell us a lot of ideas that they think we should be doing in the classroom, and they've not seen the classroom.
There's a disconnect between.
There is,
and-
yeah. And the Stark County ESC has reached out to Akron Children's, obviously that's a big provider, and tried to have some meetings, and they might have had one or two, but it's a little slow going, just to talk about, hey, let's talk about what you see, let's talk about what we see, and try to get on the same page, because sometimes the parent gets a little false hope or expectation from that doctor's report sometimes.
Sure, and I've experienced it with brain trauma and then trying to translate that report into educational needs, and the medical field they need a teacher in the office with them.
A little bit, yeah.
Explaining some of
It would
that.
help us all.
Yeah. I know there's an audit done to take a look at, are we over-diagnosing or are we over-designating kids on IEPs? How often is that done, and where do we stand in that audit process?
So the audit process, the state will audit our IEPs and ETRs. We have not been audited for several years. We are scheduled, I believe, in 28, 29 to receive an audit. Now, they're looking, first of all, at IEPs for compliance and proper work.
Okay.
ETRs, sometimes they will audit those, and they would look to see if we made the right determination based on the report. Yeah.
Nick, she meant like percentage-wise, like it shows up on your special ed profile or
Yep.
that we.
Well, I know they'll ding schools if you like,
So,
50% of your
yeah,
kids on IEPs.
so
They're like,
we-
wait a minute.
Yeah.
We're between 12 and 13%, which is about where the state would like you. I mean, years ago,
Okay.
when Deb Bio was here,
Yeah.
we were
remember we
like
got
28%,
things,
and there was a big crackdown.
Mhm.
But for the most part, based on our general population, we're within the standard range that
Okay.
Ohio would say.
And you may hear of some other things where they look at different demographics and stuff to determine your percentages in those different areas. A big one right now is speech, but speech is usually, I mean, it's usually pretty obvious, and usually students with speech IEPs come off of those because we do a great job, and that's something that they can correct, and we do a good job of that. So most people do, yeah.
Do you sit through all the IEPs?
No, not all. Our principals sit through them. If they can't be there, then I'm there. I do all the preschool, I do all the out-of-district, and any interesting ones I'm usually a part of.
Okay.
That
I'm
all?
done. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that might have been answered by that last part, but is there an indicator in any way, and this is probably, I don't know if it's even answerable, as to why there's like, I remember back in the day, you didn't hear this, and now, other than the physical ramifications, possibly with like a diabetic, like you're talking about that, but, I mean, is there an indicator as to why there's just the rising number
For 504s, is that what you're
for
thinking of?
all overall? Maybe
don't-
that health thing, like maybe, is that, awareness of it, or the medical stuff? I mean,
That-
Is it-
I don't have a professional answer for you.
It's kind of, isn't it kind of like when everybody was put on,
Does staff, is it staff driving that, or is it the parents driving that?
The 504, we have a combination of both. I would say the 504s are typically more driven by the parents. An IEP, some by the parents, definitely, but our staff probably notices those even before the parents, because parents oftentimes interact with their own children in a social setting, or not a whole lot of other children, even their own same age. And when they're doing it, they're not learning, they're playing and stuff. So our staff is more likely to see a student, and not just our staff, I mean, our MAPS testing, our different results of how are they growing, and if they're not growing, or
The
different
parent
things.
would have to sign off on that.
Oh, yes, yeah.
You
If,
can't recommend it and say, too bad, we're doing it.
correct.
That's it.
The first step is to gain consent from the parent. We have a planning meeting. We explain everything to the parent. We have suspected disability categories, and then we explain what the process would be. After that meeting's over, then the parent has to sign, and we can't do anything until that parent signs in terms of evaluating the child.
Is there a crossover in staff with IEPs and 504s?
Probably some, yeah, just where it's all hands on deck. So you might have some students on an IEP, maybe at an elementary school, maybe have 2 kids who need small group testing. And so the intervention specialist is going to take those 2 kids for small group testing, but there's also 2 kids in there on 504s. Well, we could take them as well for the small group testing and have 4 kids together. So yes, there is.
As far as dedicated staff, you need
So,
dedicated staff for 504s?
no.
Like you have for IEPs?
No, there's not dedicated staff. That's where our classroom aides would come into hand. So, for instance, there's a couple classroom aides at Marlboro. So if a student is in a classroom and there's no intervention specialist, because there doesn't need to be, but they have a 504, then that aide would have to help assist with the accommodations. Yep.
are you seeing, I know several years ago, probably 20 years ago, there was a big push that any kid who couldn't sit still in class got put on Ritalin, and they were labeled ADHD or ADD. And I kind of feel like we're in a new wave where everybody's getting, the doctors are very open to the 504s because of basically what the parents are saying without communicating with the school first.
I would say that's accurate.
Okay.
That does help, thank you. Yeah.
Mr. Swift, looks like you got something.
No,
Okay,
thank you for.
That's a
Yeah.
lot.
yeah,
That's a lot.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Swisher, we good?
Thank you, Nick.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You want this left here or moved?
Sure.
Oh, you can just leave it right there.
What's up?
You put the microphone way down. You are not.
Box there.
Is that low enough?
All right, height.
She's not that short.
That was perfect, Mr. Evanich. Thank you. All right, good evening. So we are going to take a few moments to go through our preliminary, I want to stress that, preliminary state report card data. We will get a finalized we'll have a finalized presentation in the fall when the actual data is confirmed. So just a reminder, I always like to do the disclaimer that our report cards are designed to give our parents, our communities and educators, as well as our policymakers, information about the performance of not only our district, but also each of our individual schools. And it gives us an opportunity to celebrate achievement and success and also identify areas for improvement. And so the information provides clear and easily available reporting on student performance. It drives local conversations on school improvement. It identifies schools to receive supports for getting better. The goal is to ensure all students receive an excellent education that can lead to success in life, careers, and future learning. So that is the kind of underpinning and the why behind why do we even have the state report cards. And I always like to say this not only with our teachers, but like our district leadership team, also during our admin meetings, about the fact that the school report card is only one part of the story about what's happening in Marlington local schools. It is one piece of a puzzle. And so I use the term also oftentimes that I want us to be able to use data as a flashlight and not a hammer, right? We want to be able to look at it and see what is going well and what areas do we need to improve. So with that being said, the traditional report card, if you remember, we transitioned a couple years ago to having the star ratings, and the highest rating that you can receive is a 5 for your overall rating. You also are going to have 6 components on their school report card. Those are your achievement component. You can see that's 25% of your overall rating. You have the other largest portion is the progress component, which is also rests at 25%. And then you have 4 other components that are each comprised of 12.5%. Your graduation, your college, career, workforce, and military readiness, your early literacy, and your gap closing. So those 6 components can be rated on a scale of 1 through 5. Your overall rating is the only one that could have a half-star increment. So you could be at a 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, or a 5. Your 6 rated components are on a scale from a 1 to a 5. There are no half-star increments there. Also, as you're going through the school report card when it's officially released in the fall, you'll notice that there are some things that are called report-only data. That's found in many of our components. It's just there for you to be able to see, to gain a bigger picture and a deeper understanding of what those different measures are looking at. They don't go into calculating any of the overall components. It's just for report purposes only. And in the fall, we'll talk in more depth about those. So our overall rating, our preliminary, notice it says preliminary, this is from the Secure Data Center. We are at a 4 stars, which I'm super excited about. If you look at that, you will notice that we have our achievement component rating at 4 stars. We have our gap closing is at 5 stars. We're going to talk a little more briefly about each of these. Our graduation rate component is at 4 stars. Our early literacy component rating is at 3 stars. And our college, career, workforce, and military readiness component is at 4. You will notice the progress component has an NR that data is not available yet. That is our value-added data that does not come out until the fall. And oftentimes, that will dictate, because if you remember, that's the second largest portion of, it's 25% of your overall, that can make or break a district. So we are very excited, though, about the intentional work we did around progress this year. So we're really hoping for at least a 4 stars in that.
You don't have any preliminary
For
idea
that?
of what? Okay.
We have, I'll be honest with you, we have our MAP data in K-5 and all of our MAP data indicated that I will tell you all 3 of our elementary schools were what's called in the green quadrant for MAP data, which meant high achievement and high growth for all grade levels, K-5, and each of our 3 buildings as a building landed in there for reading and mathematics. So that is huge. So we're hopeful that at the elementary level in 4th and 5th grade, that's where you would have value-added data. At the elementary level, we're hopeful to see that. But outside of that, we don't have a dipstick kind of to give us an indicator of what that's going to look
I have
like.
one more question.
Yeah, of course.
Kind of piggybacking off of Nick's report, the students that are placed outside of our district for special needs or for whatever reasons, does their performance impact our scores still?
If they are considered a Marlington student, then yes.
Okay.
And that's why this is considered preliminary, because what they end up doing, I call it scrubbing the data. What that means is they look to see what students, we have students that tested for Marlington, and then students that are accounted for Marlington. Those are 2 different numbers. Because just because they sat here and took the assessment doesn't mean that their scores in the end will end up counting for Marlington local schools. It could be that they had primarily the majority of their education in a different school setting and then moved in later to Marlington, or they were here for a little bit and then moved elsewhere and their scores will really count somewhere else. So that's why I say it's preliminary, because there's a lot of factors that go into determining those final ratings.
Okay.
Good question. So just diving briefly into each of our components. So our gap closing component, this one of all the ratings, I would say this would perhaps be one of that I'm most proud of. Our gap closing measures how well districts support all student groups. And a 5-star rating demonstrates our commitment to ensuring every student receives the support they need to be successful. And so when you're looking at this, we're looking at our English language students, we're looking at our English language arts, math, we're looking at graduation, we're looking at reducing chronic absenteeism rates for all students. We're looking at our gifted students and how are our gifted students performing. So we're looking at our student subgroups and how are we meeting the needs of all of those individual students. And so around that star, we have our multi-tiered system of supports. We have positive behavior interventions and supports. We have interventions. We have specific student supports. We have data teams that are really looking at student level data and are we making decisions that are best for kids. And then we also have that whole child focus. So not only are we making sure that their academic needs are being met, but we're also ensuring that their social emotional needs are being met. So we talk a lot about we need to make sure that their basic needs are being met so that they're open and they can receive the academic component. So super excited about that initial 5-star for our gap closing. The second component we're going to look at is our achievement component. This is exactly what it sounds like. It measures student academic achievement using their level of performance on the Ohio State test. So if you remember, the Ohio State tests begin with math and ELA in 3rd grade, and those continue on up through your 8th grade with math and ELA, and then you have 5th grade and 8th grade science, and then you have your high school end of course exams. So your achievement component, our achievement component, is coming strictly from how did our students perform on the OSTs. And so we have a 4 out of 5 stars here, which means we are exceeding the state standard in academic achievement. I attribute this to high quality instruction. We've been very intentional with presenting to the board curriculum resources that are evidence-based. We are ensuring that they are being implemented with fidelity. We also are being very intentional with the professional learning opportunities that we are providing for teachers. We are getting better and better each year with making data-driven decisions, using data to inform what it is that our next steps would be. We've been focusing on what's called teacher clarity and targeted supports. We have our graduation component, which is also 4 stars, which means we are exceeding the state standards. This is a measure of the 4-year adjusted cohort graduation rate and the 5-year. So some students take 4 years, some take 5 years to graduate. They take a combination and a formula to determine what that percentage is, and then that's how they determine your star rating here. We have what's called an early warning system, where we start in kindergarten looking for students that are at risk. We have a variety of factors that would deem them as being at risk. We've increased the number of opportunities for student engagement K to 12. We have credit recovery. We have been focusing tremendously on career pathways and post-secondary planning, as well as family partnerships. So all of those things go into ensuring that not only are our students coming to school, but we're also graduating them as well. The CCWMR, it's much easier to say that than say college, career, workforce, military readiness. Very excited about the fact that we have a 4. I will be honest with you, they changed the calculations last year. Last year, we thought we were going to get a 5. We were on track to get a 5 in this area, but when they configured the component, it dropped us to a 4. So that happens quite frequently where they change the end game, and then we have to then adjust accordingly. And so the college, career, workforce, and military readiness is a measure of how prepared our students are for future opportunities, whether it's training in a technical field or preparing for work or college. And so you can see up there all the different things we are doing to ensure that our students are ready for life after Marlington.
Are they changing this mid-year?
Yeah, they did last year. Yes. So when Mr. Farrell and I sat down and we calculated, we had all of our stuff out, try to figure out, kind of gauge where we would be. We were on par to have a 5 stars, and then when they did change the component measures, we were a 4-star. We were very close though. So yes, they did. The last part here, the early literacy component, you will notice that we are at a 3 out of 5 stars, which means we did meet the state standard in early literacy. And this is a measure of reading improvement and proficiency for students in kindergarten through 3rd grade. This component changed a couple years ago as well. Now the majority of this component is straight up, how did our 3rd graders perform on the OST reading test? And so one of the things that we have talked about is that we need to ensure that they are ready to take that assessment, because that is the bulk of this component. Where before it was how many of our kids are moving from off track to on track, that's still a component of this, but it's a much smaller component. So, we've done a lot of work. We've adopted Benchmark Advance. We are implementing science of reading, like pedagogy. We have math reading fluency to help identify any students who are show at risk for reading. We've had a number of professional learning opportunities. We are looking at continuous improvement and really looking at data to make decisions that are best for each individual student. So this progress component, like I said, is not yet available. That's our value added. That'll come out in the fall. So looking forward, what we want to make sure that we're continuing to do is provide high quality instruction for all students. We want to continue our multi-tiered systems of supports, knowing that we have the majority of our kids should be able to respond to our tier 1, but that we also have tier 2 and 3 opportunities available for those that need them, as well as our positive behavior interventions and supports, along with graduation success and student supports. We want to continue to improve our early literacy, our reading fluency, and our foundational skills, because we know that in both mathematics and in reading, because we know that with those foundations being stronger, that our students will be more successful in the latter years. And then we want to continue to expand on career pathways, looking at post-secondary opportunities for our students, building additional community partnerships, and exploring additional opportunities for student experiences K to 12. So that is a very quick rundown of our school report card. Each one of these, you can go into understanding like the why behind the rating and how you get to those, and we may take a closer look at that in the fall. But overall, Mr. Swisher and I are very excited and pleased about what we're seeing so far, and we're hopeful that the progress component comes back with at least a 4, which could solidify us at a 4 or a 4.5 for overall. You guys have any questions? No?
Down half. No, no, we
Okay.
don't, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'll call you if I come up with one.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of spend a little time here, get us through what I decided. I said we need to talk about. The final piece was what we're going to do this summer. Obviously, Jonathan asked, as with the board, we were talking about, you know, when I asked you about the looking at having the Booster Club or whatever fundraise to potentially look at expanding our Mullen Center. You know, we want to make sure we can take care of our own facilities before we can even have that discussion. He wanted, like, you know, how's that going to happen? Josh, you can have this too. You guys can share this around.
Oh,
Okay, so the front page, you guys have the front page of everything right in front of you. I just didn't attach all the pictures of every building that's in the major packet. But if you look at the front page, we're talking about summer projects. We're usually spending millions of dollars because we had roofing projects. We had so many paving projects, things that had to be milled down and done. This year, we told you we're going to be very tight and lean. All right, so if you look here, we have basically seal coating, which needs to be done. This is part of our, you know, the things we talk about. Do we upkeep the paving we do so we don't have these issues later? So we have high school, middle school, Lexington, and Marlboro. We need to do some seal coating at based on the dates that those projects were done. We also have asphalt patching. There's obviously, we have certain spots, we have some holes that we haven't got to. There's some at Washington, there's some at Marlboro on the front, Lexington, this little side lot that was never paved, just some patching, because they're just the holes are getting bigger until we can target those specific spots. Wastewater treatment, we do have some repairs that have to be done. These are things we talked about that are mandatory. We have some fencing projects, remember we talked about in a previous work session that were mandatory. We have some door replacements that need to be done. The soccer tower windows were completely busted. It was one in the press box. And then we have some concrete jobs specifically at Marlboro, especially in the front. It was cheaper just to do it all the way around, the entire front. But the total cost.
Have we rebuilt Marlboro with concrete yet?
No.
Seems like
But
we're
there.
always doing concrete work at Marlboro.
Well, a lot of times, depending on what the project is, they'll recommend, you know, based on a lot of our doors in all our buildings, but Marlboro had a handful each time where we keep having to pull the concrete out and fix it. This was the last piece. So it's like, it was either sunk or the grates were there or whatever. We had them at Washington too, in the back and the front over the last 5 years. The total cost you see there at the bottom for every project that we have slated for is just $134,000 this year versus that.
Were the soccer tower windows vandalism?
No, it's old. Original soccer towers put in, just old is all it really was. So, but you know, so that's what we currently have on the slate. What I can tell you that we're waiting on quotes for, which we're not getting people back to us, is when Josh and I made rounds, one of the things he pointed out that does need to be done is at Lexington, we do have a brick wall on the side. It's kind of like on the parking lot side. It has like steps that go up into like where the kitchen is and that. It's just completely deteriorated. We've called multiple companies. We're just not getting a lot of good feedback right now. So we're waiting on that. Once we get something back for that, that'll be something else we talked about. So, but that was one that was on there. All right, the next page on there, keep you guys updated, is it's kind of like a graphic. All right? It's meant to confuse is what Jonathan says. All right. So what I know is coming up, we talked about it in a current work session, was our current turf is getting to the point where you're going to have to age it out. You're going to have to make a change. You know, you're going to have to re-turf it. So we knew we're pushing the 10, 11 year plus side on that. Obviously, our track is in the same boat. Our track, I told you, Lou Ramuno put it in. If you remember when Lou was here, so we're talking about 20 years ago when that track was put in on that aspect of it.
Do we have years,
I didn't put years, but I can get you years.
like track replacement needs to be done by 2027,
So,
fence
Or
replacement?
how about how old they are? Wouldn't that be better?
Well, I don't care how old they are, I just care when we got to pay for it.
Okay. Go on.
okay. So, we also know that The Mullins Center floor needs replaced, that's about 23, 24 years old. And and the track fence around it, so if you're gonna redo the track, you have to take up the fence, that's just the way it is. Okay, so in a total cost there, a track replacement is gonna be a little over $500,000. The fence is gonna be about $100,000, as you can see there. The turf itself is gonna be between $400,000 and $450,000 to replace it. And the Mullins Center floor is going to be roughly about $200,000. So you're looking at, the question Jonathan asked, what's the cost of what we currently own that needs to be replaced in the near future? When he says what specific date, well, that varies how long we want to push it out. Okay, it's the ability of what we can afford to do and what we can't afford to do. So that's basically a $1.2 million project as a whole.
We understand the Mullen Center floor is getting pretty close to.
Well, they're all getting there. So what do we have from a funding source? As I say, what have we brought in to support these projects coming right now? So on the other side on there, so currently through fundraising efforts, through rentals, I guess you would say, for the turf, we have a turf fund that we've used through rentals, and then obviously paybacks for the turf. We'll end up having by next year $332,000 already in that account. On top of that, we have donations for the turf, that we would get, which will be roughly around $200,000, and those are typically for the big ones that are on the field itself. And then obviously with existing signage that's currently just around the stadium right now that needs updated, basically those leases have come up. We're probably looking at about $100,000 right now. So just coming in availability, we have about $632,000 available that's just already set aside, or the availability ready to go with our own current facilities that we have. Okay?
Is there a liability or a possibility if we don't maintain the turf that we would not be allowed to have competitions on the football field?
Well,
because
it's
unsafe?
like anything else. The turf obviously has seams. So as the more usage it gets over the course of time, you're not warranted, which we're not. So you're basically paying a company to come in to redo those seams and things like that. So this
Well, I'm talking just participation.
well, it's
and
safety.
Safety of the kids.
It's the seams that make it safe or not.
Okay.
And so like you're getting good. If you can get 10 to 12 years out of your turf, even maybe a little longer, then you've done a really good job, maintaining your turf.
Does anybody
that.
from the state ever inspect that kind of stuff for safety? I know they do at a college level.
They do not.
We have severe storms. FYI.
What's the same one?
My watch.
Thank you, Mark.
Tornado warning until 7.
Oh, a warning, great. Okay.
So what we're going to do is, I have a section, if you don't mind, I have in my superintendent report, I can just switch it into the board meeting
Let's do it.
and wrap this up.
Yeah.
We can transition over to the board meeting so we can make sure that we keep, time
Yes.
Okay.
and the professional aspect of that, and then we can just come right back to this, because I need about 15 more minutes of your time
Okay.
to go through. So I'll just catch you up right there in my section.
Okay.
Okay?
Is there a motion to adjourn? Well, we don't need that because we didn't have a motion. Go in, never mind. So we are starting at 6, 2 minutes?
Yeah. So we got about
Start the
we
regular
got about
meeting
2
in 2
minutes here.
Deep breath.
Yes. Get ready.
I think we need a motion to adjourn the work session.
We do.
We do?
Yes.
We called the roll.
Right. Okay, sorry. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Okay. We are adjourned for a minute, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. It's Thursday, June 25th, 2026 for the regular meeting of the Marlington Local School District Board of Education. Let's stand for the pledge, please. Okay, roll call, please.
Josh Hagan,
Here.
Karen Humphreys,
Here.
Kathy Krepko,
Here.
Mark Ryan,
Here.
Jonathan Swift.
Here.
Reading of the mission statement. In collaboration with staff, community, parents, and students, the Marlington Local School District will develop lifelong learners who understand and apply knowledge and demonstrate excellence in pursuing the highest standards with effective intervention to challenge every student. Additions or corrections? Are there any additions or corrections to the meeting agenda?
None.
None. Okay. Adoption of the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt this agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Krupko,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Ms. Humphreys.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Swift.
Yes.
Folk scholarship presentation.
Okay, good evening. Appreciate the students that are now, I think, graduated and coming back for their folk scholarships. So we're going to have our curriculum director, Ms. Kaylee, present those awards right now.
Thank you. So good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Renee Cayley. I have the privilege of serving as the Director of Curriculum and Staff Development here at Marlington. And it's my honor this evening to recognize this year's recipients of the Burdine Folk Scholarship. The Burdine Folk Scholarship was established in memory of Burdine Folk, who was a dedicated Marlington educator who devoted her career to serving students with compassion, integrity, and a deep belief in the power of education. To honor her legacy, her husband made a generous gift of $500,000 to establish this scholarship fund, ensuring that Burdine's commitment to students would continue for generations to come. The scholarship recognizes students who have demonstrated academic achievement, strong character, leadership, and a commitment to serving others. One of the most special aspects of this scholarship is that it is renewable, allowing our graduates to continue receiving support as they pursue their college education. This year, Marlington was able to award 43 of these scholarships, and tonight we're especially excited to recognize some of our already graduated recipients that are here joining us. At this time, I'm going to call them up, and if you would come up and do not lose this because it's the actual check, okay? All right, so we have Caitlin Cox. We have Connor Powers. Jake Harper. Carly Scott. We have Kendra Scott. And Luke DePold. If you would please join me in congratulating these students. We're incredibly proud of your accomplishments. Would you like to give a Sure.
We appreciate you guys coming tonight. Families, thank you. And board, just so you know, this is one of the few scholarships, the Burdine Folk, that is a renewable scholarship. So as long as you have the right to apply every year while you are still in school, up to 4 times. So I think that's one of the nice things about it. So these students were able to get additional money on top of that.
28 actual high school students and 15 students that are post-secondary. So they're, and the amount varies each year. That's a committee decision depending upon interest rates. I always ask Mr. Foss, for how much interest that the account has accrued over the year up to that point, and then the committee determines what the scholarship amounts would be, and it's always based upon like the number of applicants we have and the amount of money we have in the funds. Because one of the things that we never want to do is go below that 500,000 of the initial investment. So we have a great time. We meet in April and get to go through all the applications, and they have for the essays and things of that sort. So we have a good time doing that. So, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're probably going to start the formal part of the meeting, so if you wish to hang around for the formal part, you can. If not, this would be the time to exit in between the raindrops.
Good luck.
Okay. Karen? Invocation.
Okay, invocation. Mr. Foss, would you please?
Let's pray. Dear Lord, again, we thank you for the opportunities laid before us here at Marlington. We pray for your blessing upon the students who attend this district. We pray that you watch over their safety, that you give the board wisdom in making decisions, that things will be optimized and produce the best amount of good for the kids. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Update, Mr. Swisher.
Okay, so I will continue back off where I was at the work session. That was going to be basically my update outside of the DPI update, which I have to do legally by law, which I will review when we get in here. So I was talking about what obviously the cost. So we have quotes on basically what it would be for what we have currently in our facilities that have to be upgraded. So Jonathan Swift's question was, when does it have to be done? Well, that varies. It's just a matter of how long do you want to wait? As Kathy said, what safety concerns we have, when's the need for it. Our turf and track are definitely within the next 12 months, maybe 24, within the next year or two at best. So it's kind of a combination. Look at that, our Mullen Center floor, it just varies on what projects, can be done or not. So when I say we have a set aside right now of $632,000 so it's over half of the cost of, or pretty much half the cost of the project, a little more than that. We'll just continue to look to get some other donations, and then we'll talk about obviously what money we have available in the capital improvements, because I said we don't want to do anything unless we have available money to do it, especially maintaining ours and still being able to maintain our current facilities like we've been doing in a reasonable fashion. So I thought we'd share with you on top of that in the next pages. I think you guys have it stapled together. There, the first page that you have in front of you is it just shows you that what I was talking about. We do have a PI turf fund. A lot of that from rentals or paybacks. As you can see at the end of fiscal year 26, that's coming up here in about 30 days. Because our fiscal year is in January to January. School's fiscal year ends in the end of June, correct? Mm-hmm. June 30th. So as you can see at the end of fiscal year 27, that's the $332,000 mark where we'll be at. Currently for that. That was the mark that I put on that page about that. That just shows you that we do have a separate fund tied for that we do continue to put money into. But the other two big things that we always talk about, when it comes to our district as a whole from a facility standpoint is obviously our PI and obviously our 070 account. So on the following page that you turn, you kind of sit there and you look, that's our PI money. So that's the permanent improvement levy that was passed by the district roughly 26 years ago. Now, obviously, we're not bringing in the same dollar amount that it was then. We're bringing a dollar amount equivalent to that or what it was. I mean, we're still bringing in that dollar amount, but it doesn't move with inflation and area costs. So right now, it brings in roughly about $600,000+ a year is what it currently brings in. So as you can see here, what I asked Bob and I did was we sat down and we said, hey, what just typically comes out of PI? We have things that have to come out every single year. There's just certain line items that if it's athletics, if it's for a bus purchase, if it's for environmental regulatory issues, rooftop AC units, mowers, technologies, paving, asphalt, various things like that, that are just things that we typically standardly take out of a PI fund. So if you look up top, across the top, you have fiscal year 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. We try to just give you across the board there. So it kind of has an amount that comes in, and then below that, in parentheses, are expenses that we just deem that will be coming out. We just want to say, hey, we know it's coming out. We don't want to guess. We have a pretty good idea. So as you can see there, there's, like we typically purchase one bus every year. So we know we just kind of put 126, 135. In FY28, sometimes we got to do a set of 2 buses every third year because that's what we looked at past trends. So that's a $270,000 hit right there. That doesn't necessarily mean that we'll do that. That's just what we're saying that we would potentially pull out. It's kind of like you would say encumbered in that aspect of it. So as you look at those things, you look all the way at the bottom line, that kind of gives you an idea. It says ending balance, all other, the not including the turf money. That's just kind of where it is at the end of each fiscal year with taking out all those things above.
Do we have a pickup truck with a snow blade, or are we looking?
No, we're looking.
Well, I guess
Okay.
we do have one apparently, but it's really in bad shape.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're looking.
So do,
Like, may not be useful for even this season, but
the other,
according to Jason.
mowers and the skid steer, we've had a landscaping contract for the last several years. Are we bringing that in-house now and mowing in-house?
We are slowly, as part of my conversation, we're getting to, yes. We're slowly starting to bring that in-house.
So we need a Bobcat and 2 mowers?
So right now, we currently have had like maybe a mower or 2 that Linda and June have used for summer grounds that they've tried to keep up with our main campus. We typically farm out or contract out prior to me and even now the 3 elementary buildings, and we tried to handle our main campus ourselves. We still had, with Linda retiring about 2 years ago, we did not replace her, knowing that I had a goal of trying to get to everything in-house. We had June and a few students, and now June is retired as a bus driver and as a grounds. So we posted a while ago a grounds technician, but I didn't even know if we'd find one, because I wanted somebody that had the ability to fix mowers, fix weed whackers, had a spray license, be able to mow, be able to run a backhoe, be able to run a skid steer, because ultimately I told Bob, I said, we contract, like say snow, we have we use DHOFs, for all 3 of our elementaries and our high school for salt and that. I just wanted to look at our main campus. I really didn't want to look at the elementaries yet because it's too spread out. But what do we spend when it comes to salt and snow? And I know it varies, like this winter was really heavy and other winters it's not. What do we spend with Enviroscapes when they have to come in and do one quick sweep in the spring, which I know is about $1,000 because we can't keep up with it. We haven't had to use them at all this year when it comes to getting that done using in-house services. When I was looking at snow removal, our custodians currently have to do our sidewalks. So, we have to pay them overtime because that's not how the union contract works. So having somebody in-house that's going to handle that's part of a normal contractual day, now I don't have to bring my custodians in and pay overtime. So when you start piecing together these costs, we found that it looks like it's going to be a better option to go 100% in-house just for the main campus and see how it goes there. But there's a little bit of cost up front because we're missing some equipment that needs to be done. We need to purchase a couple $11,000 mowers to be able to do this because we got 3 kids out there every day that are constantly keeping up. We're not paying somebody to line our fields anymore. Our plan is to have this in person that's going to do all the snow removal on the main campus. They're going to handle all the sidewalks. They're going to handle all the salting, things that are just, you get parents that'll call and complain or say, hey, for safety reasons, you're sending kids into school at, say, 1:30 or 2 because the road's deemed safe for practice, but at the same time, the sidewalks aren't clear or anything else. Or, it could be something related to music or choir or whatever. So a lot of those times we're just not quite ready, which we will be now. So to answer your question, yes.
Dan, Can I probe a little bit more into that, this whole lawn care thing? You're saying that you've evaluated at this point 5 buildings, 5 pieces of property. We can do that more effectively in-house
No,
than
Saying just the main campus.
just main campus.
just the main campus.
I have not even looked at the elementaries yet. I do not think we can, so 20 years ago when I was here, we basically let our 3 elementaries go all summer long. We just did nothing. So let the weeds grow, let the grass grow, get to it when we can. I mean, it basically looked like you drive by them in July and you didn't know if they were actually open buildings or abandoned buildings. And then right before school would start, we'd send in our used to be Jim Sukos and June and Linda, and they'd come in and they'd get, clean up the bushes and pick some weeds and throw some mulch down and, make everything really good right before open house. Like you're just scrambling. And, so as we've moved and progressed, and it's one of the things that I said even when you hired me, I think, the value of maintaining and upkeeping our buildings is critical, especially when taxpayers and people drive by, they want to look and they see buildings that have been well kept. We didn't do that before. So we've had turf tenders or Enviroscapes, different companies over the years take care of the elementaries, and we've had people pretty much take care of our own grounds fairly well. Now we've fallen behind a little bit, so we've had Enviroscapes come in here and there at a cost of about $1,000 a time, like it's not as a contract, but just as like a rate. Ultimately, looking at it, when Bob and I looked at it from just this main campus, it's
When you
definitely
say
more
main, you mean middle school and high school?
middle school, high school, Hort, Mullen Center, that, all the fields
See,
around the
I'm-
back.
Of course, I don't know the numbers. It just seems to me you could get somebody to do all 5 and be very competitive and eliminate the need to have all this equipment purchased, maintain it, and not worry about it. Why do you want the headache? It just doesn't make sense to me, but I don't know the numbers. I'm just going off what I see just in the business world.
No,
It's not part of your,
and that
it's
was-
not part of your, it's not part of education.
No, but that was my
So
mindset.
why do you want that headache? Just do the whole thing. Just have someone take care of it. It's off your back. You have to inspect it once a week, once a month, make sure they're doing their job. It's done.
Well, that was my mindset, except for this main campus. Like, so if I took you and say, let's just tour the main campus, when you get in over there to the children's gardens, the Hort Gardens, and you start talking about when weather happens, or how fast our grass grows in the spring, or maintaining it,
Slows
or
down in the
prepping it
summer,
right
yeah.
before a soccer game or a baseball or softball, and we get a quick rain and we got to do this. One of the things that we lack is the ability to have anybody do that in an efficient manner. If we do, we're going to pay a premium price to get it done. And even from a spraying aspect of it, like we were always paying somebody to have to spray, where part of the thing when I was looking for this one grounds technician to do all this was he had to have the ability to have those licenses and things like that, so there wouldn't be an incurred cost that we have to pay to have somebody do all the spraying. The goal was to eliminate any outsourcing on our main campus, period, ultimately. So from a snow removal, from a salt removal, from a mowing,
to save money or just
to save money, yes.
We'd save money and have more control.
And the control. I mean, it was, the problem is that there's some years that are easy, and then there's just times that we can't control weather, we can't control what's going on, and having that ability to get things done efficiently would be better.
Just having a little experience in that, I think you could have control over that.
Have you checked like with all the equipment that you're looking at, what the payback, how long that would take for us to, versus,
Well,
paying
that's-
someone, contracting out?
Well, so ultimately, for us to do, for what we're going to do, I won't know 100% for sure until I get a year into this. I can take a good educated guess, because when Bob and I talked about this, there is a little bit of an upfront cost versus a long-term cost, like, grabbing a couple more mowers. We're gonna need them either way, even if with our other mowers, based on our current landscaping program educationally, we would
Worn out.
still
Don't we,
need those.
don't we have like a landscaping career tech program? Why are they not landscaping and career teching our?
They do a portion of it when they can during the school year. So that's with Mr. Annie Lamacusa, but obviously they're done for the summer. There's no teacher around, there's no kids to supervise. So it's a different set of kids that you hire. So we hire certain summer help that work as, in building support, that do that. Then we have an X amount of kids that are consistently on mowers and weed whacking and mulching, and then we have, somebody overseeing that.
Okay.
Well, you're still looking into it. You're still working on this.
Yeah,
so.
Crunching the numbers, we're not losing anything because we're not replacing June and Linda. So no matter what, we've always had June and Linda. So there's two bodies that I took and replaced with one. That one in itself I'm making all year, so there's a little bit more cost. But when I eliminate the subcontracting costs that we've used for grounds for summer, spring, and winter, we're really at a break even. Where the additional cost is coming in for just this year potentially would be a few more mowers, and then we are looking at, if we want to do it right, we got to find some type of bobcat or something to be able to move snow, or a truck or something to be able that's efficient to be able to get that done.
Yeah, I'd
So-
like to load salt, for example, and
So
apparently the
that's-
Bobcat's a very practical snow removal machine too, with a snow box for the front for like parking lot or size, because you can
Yeah.
lift snow and stack it, and I have a feeling it would be very useful around the district too for things that we haven't even considered yet, like landscaping things. Like one of the things that was mentioned was like the roughness that's in the grass right now from when they did the electrical poles, like for the soccer field and around the property, that you'd have something that could be done without hiring it out, whereas frankly, we may not even hire that out, might just put up with the roughness of it without having someone on hand that could do it. So I think it might end up being a nicer job too, but I think there's a little bit of trial and error aspect to this too. We'll see how it goes.
So Mark, I'll give you an example. The grounds technician that I'm recommending for hire that started June 1st, the gentleman that is overseeing our grounds right now, that I will be all year round to basically make up for this, also has a background in heavy construction machinery. So, we have a spot down by the football field that we have no clue why. It can be the middle of July and no rain for a month and it's wet. He's going to excavate all that up, fix it, move on. Our ponds drain directly down into our softball field. Okay, it's just the way it's been. We get the heavy rains, things like that. For us to subcontract that out, call Troy Wagner, call TNN Excavating, you're asking for a significant amount of money. He's already emailed me and said, here, I can do this, this, and this. I'm gonna rent this equipment. It costs about $1,000, $1,300 to rent it. Give me X amount of days. I need this piping from Marlboro Supply, to bring in the piping, and we're gonna trench, and we're just gonna start redirecting the water down there to save that. That savings alone will probably be $10,000 or $20,000. So it's those types of things that, when I say a grounds technician, I don't mean me, like I couldn't do any of that. Could I manage it or direct it? Sure, but that's not what you need. I don't need a manager or director. I need somebody that's willing to get their hands dirty and get in there and get it done. So I feel pretty strongly this is going to benefit our district as a whole.
There was a concern. Can we back up a minute to the turf fund?
Mm-hmm.
That fund is primarily from rental, correct? Is that?
Yes.
Okay. So that started back in 17, 18?
I think it was 2017. Yep.
Okay. So that's a nice amount of money.
It is.
And we haven't used any of that.
No.
Right?
Correct.
That's strictly
Separate
for
fund. Yep.
replacement.
That was, the whole purpose
Yeah.
was for
That's what
looking
I
at
thought.
replacement.
Yeah.
The problem is now replacement, everything's, you can't control inflationary measures.
No.
We're just trying to, and we've gotten roughly 5 quotes on turf. So even when you do turf it, you still have to bid it out. We can just get an idea to be able to tell you,
Yeah.
okay? But we got ranges anywhere between 400,000 and 576,000. I mean, the range is very broad. So We are kind of being patient and weighing options against each other, talking to people, being very transparent. Scott Stair and I are. We are working with hopefully a local company right around here to do a long-term partnership and potentially look at turf for softball, baseball, and football and how that would look in a small payment venue. So it's just one of those things that would benefit the district and benefit the local company, and would be, you know, it's in Marlington. So it's just all, you know, sometimes it's just a wait and see option. But I just want to be able to give you that from a PI standpoint, you get an idea that we spend most of our PI money, as you can see. But if we're very cautious, you know, as you can see out, it does grow a little bit where we have a couple $100,000 here or there to play with, but it's, you know, it's very easy to spend $600,000 a year. It's not a problem. I mean, we're a big 95 square mile, you know, we're a big district, so. The following page is what we obviously, is what we, you know, is capital improvements. That's the 070 account. So you obviously, we get operating money put into our, as you know, into our operation funds that we immediately transfer out for the use of facilities. So back to the PI, that's the only thing we're allowed to use PI money for. That's it. We can't use it for operation money. This we could. Right now, currently, for the last 7 or 8 years, we've been using this strictly for what it was the board designed it for, which was for capital improvements, which is what we use for our roofing, paving projects, you name it, air conditioning, the loan lease project that we've done at the elementaries, everything that you see here from an air conditioning standpoint, all done through this capital improvement money, which in a nutshell, people say it's your Nexus pipeline money. All right, so you can see there again, same scenario. FY 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. As I talked about earlier, we were playing it very tight to the chest this year. You know, only really spending about $135,000 on projects and so forth down. So if you look, anything that's in parentheses underneath that are basically things that you could say we encumber or just that are coming out automatically. So if you get to the bottom of FY 26, we're looking at having, you know, roughly about $1.9 million left in there. As you can see up top there, you see bond payments. That's that loan. You can see that loan drops off right there. Our last loan payment is going to be, I think, in December of 27. All right, so we got basically 3 payments left. And I think it's, am I right, Bob, December 27, which would be technically fiscal year 28 when it ends, if that's how you want to look at it, because it's, you know, December 27, we go into 28, then, you know, basically we would be considered debt-free from any type of loan through a bank.
Okay.
All right, so that's why you see that drop off. You see nothing on 29, 30, or 31. Okay? So, obviously, that gives us options. So we just basically have parentheses, set aside things for, you know, potentially from the arts and music side. That's where like things we come out of that we would need if we wanted to. It could come out of PI or this. This is just, it just depends where you want to put the bucket. Obviously a little bit for athletics comes out of that, wastewater treatment repairs, things like that. You see there, we just basically, Bob and I did, under facilities, building and maintenance, we just earmarked basically from FY 27 on. We just generally said, hey, we're taking 400,000 out because we just know we're going to need, we're just say that's for paving needs, brick needs, roof needs, abatement needs, who knows? You know, we could do more, we could do less, but we just said, let's just earmark a high number knowing that we're still going to have to maintain our current facilities, okay, from a broad scope, things that we do. We may not even spend that 400, but we're just going to pull it out. You go down from there, you'll see paving. We actually put paving on a separate line. We just added another 150. We just said we're going to probably put that on paving. You see underneath there, we basically earmarked 350,000 for 3 years. That's what I talked about a few months ago when I was talking about, you know, can we earmark some money if we want to do anything with expanding our facilities at all, okay? You know, or upgrading them or doing anything. So that's on top of everything. So that's, I just kind of put out 350 for 3 years to kind of get an idea, what's it going to look like in an end result and a bottom line if we do that. Obviously, there's patching, security, snow removal. We do out of PI, like we don't have buses in there because we do it out of PI, things like that. So as you look at the bottom, you get a bottom total there. The very bottom is basically, you see we're carrying anywhere between 2 million upwards as the loan lease comes off by 2031. If we continue to maintain things fiscally smart, we might end up having $5-6 million built into there. And that's taking out the money that I just talked about. That's taking all that out.
Well, if we got so much money in there, why don't we use it somewhere else?
Hold on.
Okay, just asking.
So you turn the page.
So turn the page.
Well,
right.
Are we gonna save it for a rainy day?
Yes, we are, a little bit. So, here we are. So, as you turn the page, there's this little blue box that I call, Bob, it's like potential projects that we can kind of put more things in there. So you can see next year, I just put an earmark in of $450,000. I put that in there because then that completely covers the cost of our current facility stuff. So what we have, the 600,000+ plus that, we'll be really close, if not done, with what comes in. So if we wanted to next year make sure the turf was replaced, the fence was replaced, the track was replaced, and redo the Mullen Center floor, it could all be done and not taking any cost directly out of operating. And that still leaves us with, at the end of the day, $1.7 million in there. Now you see 1.5, the reason is there's another line item you see there, it says reduction in transfer to Gen Fund to cover operating budget. All right, we put 200,000 next year. The following year, you can see we just dropped in $500,000 as a number. Okay, we just put a number in there. So if you turn to the next page, you see this is our forecast from 5 months ago, 6 months ago. You look at, we're ending FY26. FY25 was a year ago. We're ending FY26. So you go down the line, 6.010, excess revenues over under expenditures, okay? We were told that we're going to be deficit spending out of our $30 million company, roughly probably $134,000, which to me is, okay, that's great. I find that inaccurate because of our tuition out costs. We're talking about special ed. We knew what we had to do this year, things like this. So Bob and I had a chance just to have a brief conversation with Ryan Gazzoni yesterday and just gave him some updates because all the legislation has changed since then. Okay, so we have a lot of legislation changes that are now final. He now currently does every district in Stark County with the exception of Massillon and Kansas City. He does every district. Let me be clear. He basically told Bob and I, you're 134,000. So when we do this in August, it's not going to be 134,000. It's going to be about 550,000. Okay? What you look at last year was 912. I'm just saying it was expected. That's the best thing I could say. So when you go back to that previous page, when I say I think we can still maintain our facilities without going to the taxpayers for money, and I still think we need to make sure that we stay fiscally responsible. There's an option there to take money, transfer it basically back, just to bring that number down or even.
Wouldn't that require board action?
Well, there's two trains of thought there. So if you transferred all the money as we normally do, that would be one board action. And then you'd bring back, say, X dollars would be another. Or you have the discussion. So you say basically, we do our 5-year forecast in August, and the consultant and the treasurer say we are deficit spending $550,000. The board would prefer to keep that under $300,000, so the difference is, $250,000 or whatever. No, here's my thing. You could ask and transfer money back, or as the pipeline money comes in, all our public utility money comes in. Before we transfer it, we could just transfer X amount. So you only make one. You're only making one transfer.
Okay.
So you don't have to do both. So you could
leave some in the general.
Yeah.
He
I
ba-
was under the impression that it was board policy that all that money goes to.
It is.
Yeah,
So-
we can
So we
rescind
would
that.
You can have a
That's what I'm saying.
resolution when you do it, but you don't have to make two resolutions. You could do it all in one resolution. It doesn't matter. Yes, so to answer
Okay,
your
but I'm
question,
saying,
yes.
Yes, it would take board action to, okay.
100%.
That's
Sorry.
the bottom line.
Bottom line is yes.
Yeah.
I could've just said yes, right?
Yeah,
Good, said yes.
Appreciate it.
he just likes to talk.
I'd have
He
been
loves
fine.
explaining.
Plenty of time.
That's good.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm trying to get to is that, yes, we are being, compared to where the rest of the state is and where we're at, I think, yes, we've definitely been fiscally responsible with our staff attritions, our cuts and everything else. On top of that, using the capital improvement funds to maintain our buildings has been working. We're in a really good spot right now. We're able to start saving that and banking that, but there is a chance to be able to have the discussion where that deficit spending gets involved. I would rather see some of that money put back in there without affecting our capital, without affecting our facilities, which will not allow us basically to push back any, we're going to have to, it's inevitable, have a levy discussion at some point with the community. A discussion. It's inevitable. It may be 1 year, it may be 2 years, it may be 3 years. And like I said, my goal was when I talked to the community a year ago, I said, we got to at least get through a couple more years. This place is, it's crazy what's going on. And we're able to keep that promise. But at some point in time, there's no way to continue to hit 28, 29, 30 years with nothing. So at some point, the board's going to have to direct me to have a discussion with the community if we had to do it at some point in time, a year, 2 years, 3 years, what would they want to see? What would they, if it had to be, what would it be? Because it's not going to be board directed. The state's going to come in and say, listen, you're out of money, so you're going to have to make a decision. And then, so I guess I'd rather wait, at least have an idea from a community standpoint. Well, if the state's going to tell you to do it, what is that going to be? Is it going to be your traditional property tax? Probably not. Is it better to go for an earned income tax or another type of tax that we've never tried, but that might not affect a large portion of our property or farmers or retirees or things like that? So none of that's going to happen right now, but at some point in time, we have to have that discussion. So,
Doesn't matter.
Matter.
it's not going to
We
be.
could put on a balloon tax and it wouldn't matter.
But it's not going to be a board-driven tax. This board has done an excellent job with us of being really fiscally conservative, and I think we're doing a good job of it. But it's inevitable. I'm just telling you, it's going to happen.
All right, next item.
All right. On that note, obviously, while I finish up here, and I'll go to DIPA, so if I need about 5 more minutes of your time, and we'll get through. So, it's not on there. Moving on. Obviously, I showed you what we have in the capital campaign like that. When we talked about what our current facility makeup is, and when I travel around, do I feel that we have an opportunity there's some things that I want redone. We've talked about things from an arts component, like things we can do inside there. We try to work with, do something every year, and we got to continue to move forward. And we talk about an athletic component, we haven't done anything. I told you, I think it's very important that we do something with our weight room. I think it's critically, it needs to be done. I know as you heard, our wrestling parents come and speak. I think there needs to be something done there on that aspect of it. And I firmly believe that we lack any type of outside locker space. I know the football team uses underneath the bleachers. I don't think any other team or community person or event people will use it, or I would even want them in there. So I told you I wanted to, possibly have that discussion. Mr. Swift said, I don't want to have that discussion unless I know we can maintain our own facilities, which I know we can. There's been a Booster Club member and myself, there was some conversation with some community members. To get a true cost, I need to find out, I need to look into hiring somebody and then find out if the board's okay with it, just to make a markup of what that would cost to see, because I don't know. We got an estimate of, anywhere between about 1.5 million to do something like that, but is that accurate in today's dollars or is it not? We currently have a group of donors that are excited about anything like that from across the board for additional space, locker room commitments and things like that, committed to upwards in tunes of $600,000 to $700,000 as of today. So I think we're, and that's then going to allow the potentially the booster club or anybody else to go target our alumni or do other types of donations down the road to hopefully hit $1 million mark. So at the end of the day, I just want to make sure you guys are okay with that. I do need to look into finding someone to actually give us a nuts and bolts true cost, because guessing, it doesn't really help when you're asking anybody or if the booster club's asking somebody for money. So there would be some incurred costs there. Okay. Other than that, like I said, there's not, the only thing you guys need to know coming up from a financial standpoint, and I'll get into DIPA and then we'll move on, is our next renewal is in November of 27. Okay. Just want to keep that earmarked out there for you. Our community's been very supportive of renewals, but I want to make sure you guys know well in advance that it's coming. All right. Any questions about that from a facility side, specifically on our main campus? All right. Okay. Second, the legal part of it is every year, this month, I have to give you an update on what we call Student Wellness and Success Fund and our Disadvantaged Pupil Impact Aid, okay? So we get money from the state that basically in the tune of X amount of dollars that we have to spend on specific initiatives. And then the problem is they just kind of throw it in your operating budget, and then they send us a survey that Bob and I and Renee have to sit down and try to decipher exactly what we spend it on. It matches our impact aid and student wellness. It also has to be posted on our website, which it is. It's underneath it'd be underneath the administration tab. It's basically called the Marlington Local Schools Student Wellness and Success Plan. So just using a quick idea of what we use the money for and how much we use it for. So you guys have an idea of where, again, this is money. Grant, I'm going to call it a grant. It's just they embed it in as part of our foundation money. We use it for school counseling, so our school counselors, basically counseling support services, we use it, we use about $415,000 of that. So that's our student success, our student wellness and success fund, and then the disadvantaged pupil aid, we split it. Our student wellness and success money, we only get $195,000, so we spend it all on with our counselors. And then we offset that with our disadvantaged pupil impact aid, or DIPA. We also use the DIPA for our school resource officers. You guys wonder, like, hey, well, how are you paying for the school resource officers? You know, you're doing that. Well, that's coming out of that DIPA money. Okay, we have to designate that specifically. It's coming out of that when we're talking about our two SROs. Obviously, then we use it for our family and support specialists. You know, those are at a cost, or about $55,000. Now, understand we split that cost with the United Way. So we only pay a portion of those two costs, but we get two full people, family support specialists, at a very reasonable rate, and we use that out of that pupil aid. We also, for our nurse is about, our full-time nurse, we have one nurse in the tune of about $62,000 that you guys approve. You know, that contract with the Stark County Health Department, that comes out of that aid package. We have a partnership with the ESC, as you're fully aware. Preschool in particular, and obviously early learning, early literacy, things like that. So we were able to use about $430,000 of our disadvantaged pupil aid to offset some of our partnership costs with the ESC. And obviously from there, then we have, some of our instructional technology, things like that. We use about $80,000 for that. So at the end of the day, when we talk about Student Wellness and Success Fund, we get about $195,000. When we're talking about disadvantaged pupil impact aid, we get about $1.1 million in that. And that's how, and then we have to basically break down to the penny what we use that money for, and then we have to submit that into the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. So it does take a little time. But that is something I want to share, how we use our DIPA and student wellness funds. Any questions? Okay. That's it for
You're
me.
done?
I'm done.
Okay, public participation. Did anyone sign up to speak?
No,
Old business?
Okay, old business. So I recommend the motion to approve the following board policy from volume 42, number 2. It's a special update from March. This is our artificial intelligence policy.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Last month, I gave you the artificial intelligence policy. I highlighted in green what has to be in by law, according to Neola. I blacked out things that pretty much all districts stayed away from. And I highlighted in yellow, which gave you about the 30, 40 days there to, those are things that I would recommend that we add, just it protects us and protects the district, but at the same time gives us flexibility to use AI in an appropriate manner, because it's not going away. So if you're good, that's where we're at. Once that policy is complete, I'll send that out in a board update for you. I just did not want to make any changes until we had a vote.
Good. Like it should be reviewed often to add it.
Yes, we have
By
to have
the AI.
we actually have to have a committee.
We should hire an AI to review the AI,
You have
No,
an AI committee?
the AI committee.
and
It'll be filled with
enforcement.
AI people.
I liked enforcement.
Yes.
There's violation. Okay, but any other? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Okay, executive session. Is there a motion the board adjourn to executive session to review negotiation with employees concerning compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment pursuant to revised code 121.22G?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
In at 6:47 PM.
Okay.
Okay, we are back in at 6:59 p.m.
Okay, we're moving on to new business.
Don't we have to,
Hold on a second here. All right.
in the business?
All right, we have 5 items in new business tonight. So item number 1, we recommend, I guess, the only thing I don't have to show you is I don't have, this isn't a motion, so we have to do our second year round for our bullying report. So we have 2 reported incidences in our K-12 buildings as presented in Exhibit A. It's just letting you know that they were there.
The bullying report.
Yes, you have to do this twice a year.
I know, I always comment about
Okay.
it, in my belief that there are not just 2 bullying incidences in the entire district.
Reported.
Reported. Oh, well, reported.
Yeah.
Thank you for your input.
Hold on a second.
Because I believe bullying happens every day.
Okay, item number 2, recommend the motion to approve the following out-of-state field trips. Washington DC, March 17th through the 19th, 2027 for the middle school, and Orlando, Florida, April 13th through the 18th, 2027 for the high school choir.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes,
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Item number 3, recommend them to approve the following transportation in lieu agreements for 2026, 2027 as listed.
So moved.
Second.
These are our typical transportation in lieu. These are students that we pay for their transportation costs versus transporting them. Last year, the cost per student was $607.15. This year,
Is that Biomed in Ravenna?
it's just falls within our parameters of that we have to offer. This year, it's $636.75.
Okay.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
yes,
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Item number 4, recommend the motion to approve the classified salary schedules and contract between the Board of Education and the Marlington Local School District and the Ohio Association of Public School Employees, OAPSE/AFSCME local, from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029, as shown in Exhibit B.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to thank the classified staff for just a very well-organized negotiations. They did a great job. They came in well prepared and presented. We were able to have some great conversations and take a very good look at the contract. For full transparency, obviously what people want to know is, what type of raises. So they just pretty much mimicked what our certified got in their typical contract year, which is only, we're getting 2.5% this coming year, 3.5% the following year, and then there's no percent on the third year because they follow what the teachers do. So I want to make
That's undecided right now.
that's undecided until they run the certification.
Yes, we appreciate that process. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Abstain.
Ms. Krupko?
yes,
Okay, last item of new business, number 5. Recommend the motion the board approve the online learning plan for the 2026-27 school year as shown in Exhibit C.
So moved.
Second.
You have in front of you, which is just, it's a potential online learning plan if we go over our calamity days.
oh,
Okay, so if we do not have a board-approved online plan by August 1st, we are not allowed to use an online plan. So this gives us an opportunity to have 3 additional days if need be. So if we ended up having a very hard winter like we did last year where we're getting really close on days, this gives us a little bit of a cushion to be able to prepare in advance an online plan for our kids to be able to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift? Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
yes,
Okay, treasurer's agenda.
I would like to recommend that the board approve the minutes from the May 14th regular meeting.
So moved.
second,
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
I would like to recommend that the board approve the financial reports for the period ending May 31st, 2025, as shown.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to touch on a couple major points. We finished May with a total fund balance, all funds, $9,446,534.03. Of that amount, the general fund held $6,277,399.24. Permanent improvement, $398,100.30. And food service, just to highlight that because it'll come up later in another resolution, deficit of $117,197.67.
Okay, do we need to do a better job budgeting for food service next year? Because this is the second year in a row that we've gone over budget.
Well, that's actually not truly like a budget problem as much as that's a cash problem. Like a budget was on track essentially as far as how much was spent there, but it's just costing more than the revenue that we're receiving back, like from the state and from student meals and everything to fund it. So we end up with a deficit at year end this year.
And as I said,
It costs more to run it than we receive in funding.
Then next year, don't we need to budget more money?
Well, we could have the discussion of, like, do we need to raise meal prices in the future, balance that. That's one way to bring in more revenue. Obviously, we can look at controlling costs too, which is something that I know Jackie's sensitive to as well.
Sure.
You're going to add something, Dan?
no.
No. Okay, call the roll, please.
Yeah. Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
I would like to recommend that the board approve the fiscal year 2026 final appropriations and budget revisions as presented.
So moved.
Second. Oh,
Okay, this is really closing out the year. The process really involves looking at kind of our expenditures year to date and what the needs are to finish out the year and kind of tweaking the budgets to make sure that we don't finish under budget in anything or over budget in anything. So what you see, the items are highlighted here in yellow. It's basically adjustments to the federal grants for the year-end amounts that we spent in these. And some of those adjustments are frankly due to amounts, the way the grant periods work, that were spent on last year's grants because we're allowed to spend through August on those each year, so they kind of overlap a little bit.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Krupko,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Ms. Humphries,
Yes.
Mr. Swift.
Yes.
I would like to recommend that the board approve the fiscal year 2027 permanent appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the key one, I think, for this discussion is the general fund. The important note here is that the amount that I have currently set here for approval for the general fund, $28,697,049. And that is that matches the forecast that the board approved this spring. So that's where that number came from. The other funds, like 022, 200, 300, the student activity funds, athletics, et cetera, are based on fiscal year 2026 expenditures and documentation that was turned in by activity directors and the athletic director as well. The 070 appropriation that I have there, 1.8 million, it's based on that draft capital plan that Dan discussed previously. The grant funds, to get those, we look at, they released them just in time for this meeting, frankly, but the state releases our initial allocations, what they expect to fund us for this upcoming year, and that's what those numbers are based on. So essentially this resolution here, by approving this, approves the maximum amounts that I can budget for by fund.
So we did increase food service.
Yeah, the budget has been increased a little bit for food service.
And what do we use adult education for? The fund for adult education?
We don't, actually, and that's why I have a small budget there, is to be able to eliminate that fund. You know, to transfer it out if I get approval to do that.
Would there be a reason for us to open an adult education program for anything? Okay.
No, that,
Okay.
I don't know how old that is, but think of it as cleanup. There was an existing balance there, a little over $3,000 that I don't know why it wasn't spent back whenever that program was active.
We still have the underground storage tank fund too.
And I budgeted for that this year too. If you look, yeah, at
We
that.
don't have
And
the
actually,
underground storage
I'm
tank.
glad you brought that up.
No, we do not.
We got rid of it years ago.
Okay, go ahead.
That's why I budgeted $10,000 there, is because now that I've officially received the certification from the EPA that that's allowed to be closed. Now it passed the ground testing, et cetera, we can transfer that money out. So I will budget a transfer amount equivalent to that $10,000 to get rid of that fund, since we no longer have a tank and it's official.
And that
Took a
money-
while for them to get that
Oh, where?
confirmation to us.
Money-
Back in Gen Fund.
Okay. Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes. Here we go.
Okay, I would like to recommend the following fund-to-fund transfer of $131,738.35 from the general fund to food service.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
We've already talked about that.
we just talked about that.
We already discussed.
We've already talked about that.
You got a recommendation?
The one positive is that I expected it to be a little larger this year. I think I told the board previously I was estimating around $175,000.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Number 6, donations. I would like to recommend that the board approve the donations received in May.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to read them off for you here. We have a fair number. From the American Legion Post, for academic recognition, $2,000. From the Marlboro Women's Club, $100. From Pauley Electric, $35. From First Christian Church for the Family Support, My Care, $250. From the Castle Crusaders to the Landscape Design Program, $1,000. From First Christian Church to the Lexington Rocks Program, $1,000. From Morgan Engineering to MHS Robotics, $1,000. And from the John and Norma Teeple, Lucille M. Crone Memorial Fund, or I'm sorry, it's to the John and Norma Teeple, Lucille M. Crone Memorial Fund, from Mr. Larry G. Penny, $500.
Thank you for the generous donation. That's awesome. Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Ms. Humphries,
Yes.
Ms. Krupko,
Yes,
Mr. Ryan? Yes. The next item is just an announcement that I'm required to make. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 3313.202, it is hereby announced that Kathy Krupko has elected to purchase life insurance through the district plan and will contribute 100% of the cost thereof.
Do we need the beneficiary?
do I need a beneficiary? I have plenty of them,
He's volunteering.
plenty of them.
Thank you.
And that's all for the treasurer's agenda.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
But thanks for the offer.
Okay,
You're welcome.
on to personnel. So if you guys are good, you follow me with this here. We are going to consent. I will read through in my general fashion, 1 through 17. Item number 18, 19, 20, and 21 will be voted on separately. Okay, so we do have our typical, we have some certified retirements that happen at this time of the year. We have some classified retirements that also are taking place. We have, obviously, Mr. Spondiel's resignation because he's moved on. We have certified resignations that have came in. We have classified resignations that come in, all normal for this time of the year. What's abnormal is the next one. We have 2 administrative staff hires. So I will tell you who those 2 are. They are both in the audience tonight, which you'll be able to meet them here just in a few minutes. So we have Chris Mazza, I think he's in the back there. And he's going to be our new high school assistant principal. He's coming over from Mogador. All right, and then we have Wade Warner back there in your left. He's going to be the new Washington Elementary principal. So he will be over there. He's coming over from Southeast Intermediate School. So just we'll be wrapping up here in a few minutes, and you guys can take a minute to meet them before you go into exec session. Okay?
Excellent.
Welcome.
So both of those will be effective for starting this August 1st through 26th through the end of July through 29. Okay? We have some certified staff hires. These are just filling our people that have left. Okay, a lot of them are intervention specialists, some are teachers, and so forth down the line. We obviously recalling our aides. These are classified aides. We got a recall. We have other classified hires. Most of these are aides. We do or clerical people within the district, grounds technician, and so forth. We have our tutor hires that we bring back. There's a list there that shows some that are new and some that are returning. We have some supplemental resignations. Those are ones that just either they were hired and they shouldn't have been. It was a paperwork snafu or whatever. We just want to make sure we get it right. We have some typical summer student hires, summer tutors. I think we have 1 because we do have some students that we do have to get caught up on. We have extended days to finish out this year for some employees that have done some extra work, and then our general extended days for all of next year, just the normal that you guys approve. And then 17 is vacation days. That's just for an employee that's a part of his contract if he does not use them.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes,
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Okay, item number 18. These last 4 we voted on individually. Recommend the motion to rescind the board's action on May 14th, 2026 under Personnel Item 8, approval of classified personnel, first 2-year contract.
So moved.
second,
Discussion?
This is to correct something we did incorrectly or was done incorrectly at our last board meeting.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
yes,
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Abstain.
Item number 19, recommend the motion to approve the following staff members be granted their first 2-year limited contract beginning with the 2026-2027 school year following Ohio Revised Code 3319.081.
To move? Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. That's all I was going to go.
Second. Any discussion?
It's just
No.
hires. Yep.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Item 20, recommend the motion to approve the following staff member be granted her first two-year limited contract beginning with 2026-2027 school year based on Ohio Vice Code 3319.081.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just another hire.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Abstain.
I'd like to make a motion that the following supplemental staff for the 2025-26 school year pending verification of satisfactory credentials and BCI FBI checks as required. Callie Swisher, assistant track coach, and Lane Knott.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion?
Both of these two, Lane and Callie, were, if the season's over, they coached all year, they were totally forgot to even be added by accident somehow on a paperwork snap.
So does that mean they worked all year without a background check?
No, they got the background checks, they did the coach's tool chest, they just never got paid.
They did not get
Oh.
paid.
Okay.
Sounds like
It
preferential
was only
treatment.
not getting paid. Okay.
It is a half a stipend apiece, so.
Okay.
And we normally don't have this many mistakes, just saying. Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of considering the employment compensation of public employees pursuant to Revised Code 121.22G?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Please go introduce yourself to the new principal.
Okay, we are back in session at 7:48. I think it might have been cut off. We went out at 7:21. Okay, announcements. You gonna give them, or you want me to?
You can, please.
Okay. What's it say? Please visit our website, marlingtonlocal.org, and click on athletics for a full listing of our sports team schedules. July 4th is what?
Holiday.
Oh, that's for a holiday, okay. I did know that. August 31st is convocation, and September 8th is the first day of school. Okay.
August 31st, convocation.
Late one.
Okay, the next, yeah, that's a late, because we got such an early start this last time. Okay, the next Board of Education meeting,
If you guys are good, I would like to, as I said last month, we bumped back this meeting to kind of get into all the hires. I'd like to move not have a July meeting. We did not last year. We got pretty much our hires in. I have the right to hire in between that if needs be. If something really is important happens, we can always call a special meeting to bring them in if we really need to have an early meeting to get a vote in or something. I'd like just to stick to our normal, back to our August schedule, which would be in August 13th would be our next regular board meeting.
At 6 p.m.
Yeah.
6 p.m. rather than
The only thing I want to add is August, I think, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, is the way the new law is a forecast month now. So we would typically, if you don't mind, I'll probably reach out to you through email or have Bob do it. We don't have any confirmed dates with Mr. Ryan Cazzoni. We're going to have to get some, but we typically have a work session prior to the board meeting, just to review the forecast and let him go through and go through that prior to having a board approved forecast at that board meeting.
So that would be all.
This is for August.
Yes.
Okay.
So I can't give you a date right now because we don't have any available dates, so you will
So
get.
we may need to have a work session.
We may
with
need to have a
Ryan.
work session within the first 2 weeks prior to that, in August.
Okay, that's fine.
Alrighty.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Ms. Humphries,
Yes.
Ms. Krupko,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.